Hey, welcome to GeekStorm, live in the heart of downtown Kokomo at Pepper Whistles. I'm Shawn Hilton. This is my friend Mike Harrison, and we will fill you up on the latest week in geek. Mike, we don't have the microphone anymore, so we can't take them off with that. Hey, lots going on in comics. Let's talk comics.
Okay.
You got some books? What'd you read?
I only read 2 books this week.
Well, let's hear about them.
One I was really looking forward to, The Invaders. Number one, you and I both are kind of into the World War II era stuff, and it's got the original Invader team was Cap, the original Human Torch, maybe Toro sidekick, Bucky was in there too, and Namor. Unfortunately, I think for me anyway, nostalgia is the only thing that's going to keep people interested in this book. James Robinson's a great writer. I enjoy a lot of the stuff he does. I felt this was wasn't interesting to me. Nothing new. No like, oh yeah, that's James Robinson moments. There was a couple. The art's decent. There's some laziness in there, I thought, with some of the scripting as far as like reading panel to panel, and then this person down here in this panel refers to something that didn't happen, like, hey, you were supposed to do that, but we don't have any idea what it is that they did, or that type of thing, where it was disjointed a little bit for me. The main villain, space, futuristic.
Was it Tanalia?
Yeah.
Tanula?
Ronan the Accuser-looking chick.
Yes.
Her weapon looked like a...
Thor's hammer?
No. The gun weapon.
The gun weapon.
It looked like a 6-shooter from the Old West. It was really out of place there, and I did not enjoy it.
I thought it looked a lot like the game that came with Duck Hunt.
Yeah. It was just a big... It looked like a revolver with a giant cylinder on it. It took me out of the book. I hate that. I hate that in movies. I don't like it there either. So.
Well, Mike, you're wrong. You ignorant slut. And here's why. I thought it was actually really pretty good.
Okay.
I thought James Robinson chose to focus on the one character, and in this, I don't think we're getting all of the original Invaders. I think there was 1 or 2 more, and they added more throughout time. But he's focusing on this on Jim, the original Human Torch, Bucky Barnes, Captain America, and Namor, like you said. 3 out of those 4 characters have had a lot of press lately, so he focuses primarily on the original Human Torch, who's a synthetic human, him trying to come to terms with something that I didn't read, but I'm guessing was probably a big part of Inhumanity or Infinity or some other crossover where all the robots had come together to take over the world and whatnot. But it's him. I think you're supposed to get initially a little slice of life of a super heroic person trying to make their way into the real world and integrate themselves in a manner. And I thought he pulled that off very well, very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then you have a slice of, oh crap, what's going on? And of course, that has to be ripped away from him. So I thought he did an excellent job of introducing a new character, the concept of what rips him away from the thing that he is trying to do and why he's enjoying it. I really enjoyed the flashback with Hela, or is it just Hel? I think it was Hela, but whatever, the Asgardian chick that Kirby always did up and made look really good. I thought the ending, though, was too abrupt, and I also thought like you were going with the Ronan the Accuser, Talia, whatever her name is, that just seemed a little too on the nose. I didn't enjoy that. I actually like the art quite a bit, and it's not too often I bring up the colorist, but whoever this colorist house is, this Guru Effects, I thought also did an excellent job. I mean, characterization of whoever, Major Liberty, who's a character I'm not that familiar with, I thought the whole thing was well done. I thought the flashbacks were handled well. Overall, I disagree. I thought this was a book that didn't rely on nostalgia and was bringing something new into it. So, we disagree a lot, but on that one, I think we just came at it from very, very different angles. What else you got?
I read that Deadly Class, the new Image book. I don't normally get into a lot of the Image titles anymore because it seems like there's so many and they rarely get past a couple issues. But when we were in the store this week, people who had read it seemed to have enjoyed it, so I picked it up. And it's okay. It's another assassin school type of thing, and they spend the first issue introducing you into the character and everything. The art to me was very much like what's popular with Hawkeye right now. It wasn't clear to me in the first few pages. It's very narration heavy, which is a term I heard this week. Very narration heavy, and
Where'd you hear that term?
from a customer in the store.
Okay.
But in the beginning, first 3 pages, it wasn't clear to me who was narrating the book or who was narrating the story. I thought it was those people walking by or something.
Like this was them.
Yes, that's what I thought. So regardless, it's okay. I will probably look at the second issue of that. I probably won't look at the second issue of Invaders.
Rick Remender is the current, he's the creator and the writer for this particular book. He's done, I believe he's the one that brought us back Captain America in this newest series that's not going well.
I did not like that.
Well, for me, this is getting out in comic book hipster world. It's getting a lot of love, but so did Ghosted, and that was a pile of trash. Now, what I have a hard time with sometimes is trying to separate myself from comic book elite wannabe comic guy. You get that where here's what's right and here's man, I've been blinded by non-science. And so I like to separate that. Like, what do you really think, honestly, realistically, without being A, a hipster, and B, just I want to slam it to be slamming it, because those reviews are often funny and get us our best marks. But quite frankly, I felt like this is hipster comics. This is what we're coming to, that I'm not really too tight on the whole thing. Yes, some of it was a little confusing in the beginning. I've read a lot of comics, so it wasn't that a big deal. I figured that out pretty quickly. I think I had to explain to you what had actually happened in like page 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Whereas I came off like, hey, here's what happened.
Right.
I won't lie, I had to really what the hell is going on? There's not a lot of establishing right off the bat. Eventually I got to it pretty quickly, but I'm
all
it didn't
for
just...
comics as an art form. I think it's great. I think it's great that we don't see see 6-panel pages all the time. I think that's awesome. You still have to be able to tell the story.
Yes.
So.
And this does. I mean, if I'm going to give this a pass on anything, it's not the writing, it is the art. I have grown to enjoy this kind of non-traditional comic style a lot. I have always loved non-traditional layout. I've come from, one of my all-time favorite books is the Manhunter backups, and those just did all kinds of fun, cool framework. The Batwoman, when it first restarted with those panelings, the panel transitions and the panels are important, and this does an excellent job of showing you some amazing art with some great panels and some panel transitions where you actually get a feel of kinetic movement and whatnot with how this is going in this chase and whatnot. But overall, the actual writing, it's another assassin school for teenage kids. This isn't anything new or exciting. From the same company, they just did, 5 Weapons? 5 Weapons. Which, was a very different take on it, but was another assassin school for kids. So, don't come at me with any hipster crap and tell me, oh, it's new and breaking ground when it's doing the same old thing. At least it looks good and pretty to do it. Man of Bronze, Doc Savage, number 2 came out. Dynamite, I felt it was late. I'd have to actually go hit the bricks and, do some research, figure it out, but felt late to me, art-wise, really well put together. Chris Robinson is the writer. He's pretty well known. I'm not familiar with Bilky Evely as the artist, but really clean lines, good look. Again, coloring really fits. The saturation looks good. Just the elements of where we're at and what we're doing. Like here they're in a sub and they've tinted it red, which we've seen in the movies. And then in the Arctic, you've got this nice kind of overlay of white with a hint of the Aurora Borealis.
Very
so
well done.
A lot of things like that going on here with actual connections to the real Doc Savage of yesteryear. Mm-hmm. Some of the cheesy concepts that we've gone past and whatnot. And you can definitely see, if you want to dig into it, some of the influences on Superman in here as well. Well put together. You're a big Peter David fan, so I'm really kind of surprised. I thought you were
I am, but I haven't read the first issue yet, so that's why I haven't gotten to the second.
Okay, well,
I do like Peter David.
We're both Peter David fans from the old school. Got to tell you, I want this to be a good book. I haven't read any Peter David in a long time. I took some time off just because I got so familiar with his writing that I felt before he could finish a page, I didn't need to read it because I'd already figured it out or knew what was going on. And that's not him as a bad writer. That's when you follow followed a writer for a decade.
Right.
Every single thing they've wrote, you've become a fanboy, and then you can kind of finish the other person's sentences. And so far, man, I really want to like this book, and it's just not happening. He's like, you were kind of going off on that. There's some old school stuff in here that just doesn't appeal to me. That seems a little weak, and it's hard to get past. Like showing instead of telling and things like that. Now I'm all for narration, and I don't have a problem with a big info dump, but at this point we see Gambit slip, and he actually has to put in didn't have to, he chose to put in a box, damn it, lost my grip. It's like, really? I don't know, that felt a little strange to me. You didn't read Badass?
No.
Well,
I have it here, but I haven't read it yet.
the first part is right. The adjective is correct. And the second part's right, too, for the character. This is that attempt to kind of want to take advantage of the Deadpool kind of feel right now with your Looney Tunes over-the-top, super hyper violent characters. And it didn't connect to me on any level. Even Deadpool, who's become such a fan favorite now, started off in a little bit more of a traditional role with, almost like a Peter Parker bad guy sense to him. Whereas nowadays it is just completely over the top Looney Tunes cartoon characters, and you don't feel or care about them. The story's not very interesting. Dynamite didn't take a pass. Don't even bother reading that. Walking Dead has been going weekly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been, bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, so bi-weekly. This is, I think, the 6th. They're halfway through what's called All Out War, where like 4 groups are going to war with each other for all kinds of different reasons, but mostly just for protection, survival, food, and that sort of thing. In this episode, we get a few more deaths and people bitten and limbs blown off and traitors revealed kind of thing, except they'd already been revealed. So somebody told me like this was the big issue, this was a big turning point, and I'm like, no, not really. I disagree. Already did New Invaders. All right, so the surprise of the week is Empire of the Dead. Now, I am a huge George Romero fan. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I love the remake that he did of it back in the 90s, Dawn of the Dead. I love the original Dead films. Think they're great. Hey, welcome. So when you've got Empire of the Dead, George Romero coming back to do zombies, I'm like, all right, pretty cool. But there has been a hit and a miss here and there with him on occasion as well. This is actually a Marvel comic, direct continuity to the original Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, that's cool.
Flat out, the characters from the original black and white movie are not only referenced in here, are related to characters in here, with new additional material from the original movie by Romero himself added to the book.
Wow.
So after that movie ended, there is a huge revelation for the original Night of the Living Dead fans of something that is canon. I mean, Romero wrote it. It's his movie. This is his comic he's writing, and a huge event that you're like, holy cow. So it's well written. It looks really sharp. Again, the art style's a little more artsy than our traditional style. Mm-hmm. The only negative aspect here is there's a twist at the very end, and we've grown accustomed to having zombies in our zombie comic, so we've accepted the fact that there are the living undead. And now we're adding something new to the mythos. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not going to ruin it for other people. I'll ruin it for Mike because that's what we do. But for those who really enjoyed some of Romero's new work, Land of the Dead especially, you're really going to enjoy Empire of the Dead. Okay. If you're a big fan of the original Night of the Living Dead, you may love the fact that there is new material that is actually relevant, canon, and moves the story along, or you might be infuriated with the fact that now there's a little postscript to your favorite original movie that's just going to piss you off and irritate you.
Is this an ongoing or a limited?
This, I believe, is a limited for right now. You know what? I hate to say it, I'm not 100% sure. It's like anything else, though. I'm sure if it does well.
It seems like a lot of them, they'll put 1 and 2 on it, but then by the time 3 and 4 rolls around, it'll say 3 or 4.
They'll make the decision of where they're going to go. And right now with Marvel, what it is, here's what this is. It's going to be a storyline. It will come to an end, regardless of how well it does, and then they will have a new number 1 where it'll be, New Jersey of the Dead or whatever. That's just Marvel's new thing. So Then in the trade paperback world, one of my all-time favorites, Creature Commandos. This came out a week or two ago. We didn't get to cover it. And I want to make sure that we talk a little bit. This came out in late 70s, early 80s, and the idea was war comics were huge back in that time period. And towards the later part of, right around issue 100, they came up with the idea of these American soldiers who weren't actually monsters, but science had made them into monsters, basically. So, like, they've got a Frankenstein character. It's a GI who landed on it, stepped on a landmine. They put him back together and made him into a Frankenstein monster. They created a werewolf kind of guy in a lab. They created a vampire guy in a lab. And the idea was they unleashed monsters on the Nazis. Right. And short stories for the most part. These are, 8-pagers. They're quick. They're easy to read. But it's just some really fun writing, stuff that I've always enjoyed. A series that I've always wanted to own, and now we've got the entire series in color, easy to get. It's a decent little size. You get plenty for your buck. $19.99. Creature Commandos, one of my favorites.
Was that originally in Weird Wars?
Weird Wars.
Weird Wars, okay.
Weird War Tales. Yeah. Then also in comic books this week, Chuck Dixon, one of my favorite writers, has got a new ebook out called Bad Times. I think it's called Bad Times is the name of his series. He's come up with one previously, so this is the second in the series. And I think this one is called Blood Tide. I think it's Bad Times, Blood Tide. Let me see if it, yes. Blood Red Tide, Bad Times Book 2. Right. The idea is that it's not a comic, it's an e-thing, so you're gonna have to, use your Kindle, your Nook, your online reading device, whatever it is. And a group of American mercenaries, ex-Rangers, come together, and in the first book, they are offered, I think it's $10 million, to do an op on American soil as a rescue against, they're told, no enemies. So they end up in the middle of Nevada, middle of the desert, nothing around anywhere, and it's time travel. And so they don't move anywhere. It's still the exact same spot. Some scientists had gone back in time on that spot to test out this little time travel device kind of thing, and they don't come back. So they send in these guys with biodegradable everything. So weapons that are going to, so if they got stuck or something happened, there wasn't going to be any anachronisms pop up. Everything they had on them would disintegrate by the time caught back up. Sure. So they go in, and of course there's enemies. There's enemies everywhere. It's the huge, crazy blow-up fight thing. This is an action book with a little bit of sci-fi put into it. It's going to be for your guys who really enjoyed that Mac Bolan kind of feel, or the destroyers and that kind of stuff. So I've enjoyed it. Read the first one, really enjoyed that quite a bit. I'm already knee-deep into the second one. I didn't download it till almost 10 o'clock last night. So a lot of fun, very fast, super quick chapters. It's one of those things where it's moving. So Chuck Dixon, Blood Red Tide, Bad Times Book 2. I don't know that you would enjoy it, but I think you'd enjoy the fact that it's quick. Probably be an excellent audiobook, but yeah, it's action-packed, fiesta. I think that covers us on comics, which takes us about halfway through. We got everybody caught up. What else you got? There's other comic news.
Is there?
Yes. Yes, there's something about a S.H.I.E.L.D. show that you're...
That's a TV show.
Yeah, well, that's comic related.
Sure. With the show we've been talking about since it's been on, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not to be confused with S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a different show altogether.
Very different.
Some people hate when you do that. Probably actually a better show. But Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It wouldn't take much to be a better show.
Have really trying to gear up the second half of the season, trying to they say anyway, listen to some of the fan remarks and complaints about the show and inject a lot more Marvel stuff into the show itself, a lot more of the Marvel universe that it's a part of. So we heard about Sif from Thor 2 being in it.
Jamie Alexander.
Right.
She's beautiful. She's dreamy.
She should have been Wonder Woman.
I don't disagree. I'm not going to say that the other woman's not going to do a great job, but we've seen what she looks like in that style. But it does make me wonder if DC just didn't want to be related to a Marvel movie. Let's check
Jamie Alexander versus this Gal Gadot. At least Jamie Alexander, although not like a super muscle chick, she looks solid to me. Okay. This other chick is beautiful.
Oh yeah,
but
she's very
looks like
beautiful.
Looks like a model more than a warrior to me. And I understand she's not that tall either, but if I remember, maybe 5'9" something like that. Regardless,
Tom Cruise is only like 5'6" or something, so.
Tom Cruise gets a pass just because he's...
Tom Cruise?
Yeah, he's...
All right, well, I don't know. I mean, the Gail Gadot or whatever her name is. I mean, she served like 2 years in the Israeli army. I am never gonna say she's not a warrior.
Right.
But it comes down to, I mean, this is GeekStorm. We're not putting AK-47s or whatever in their hands and then putting them on the range and go, now prove it. No, we're judging you by the physical look, which, they're doing that. You know what? That's what we do. That's what it is. We've seen Jamie Alexander do this role. But again, I think DC might be like, we need to distance ourselves from Marvel and their money.
It's 2.5 years away or something like that. So, who knows what will happen between now and then.
Well, and there's some news based on that.
Yeah, they pushed, DC has, or Warner Brothers rather, has pushed back the Superman sequel, if they're still calling it that. It might be more of a Justice League prequel, but pushed it back 10 months. So you're talking about 16 now, I think.
I'm not 100%. I thought it was still 2015, but okay.
I'm not sure. I know they pushed it back 10 months.
I didn't want it, but we didn't. We digress. Okay. You still had more Shield info.
Yeah. Okay. So in other news, as far as Shield goes, with what they're going to do to interject more Marvel universe in there, one of our favorite guys from the old Whedon days, J. August Richards, who's been there since the first episode, and I was kind of happy when they brought him back here recently.
I was too. I was absolutely thrilled.
And everybody, because we're in the internet age, as soon as they said what his name was, Mike Richards or Pete Richards or something like that, everybody Googles that and sees, is that a real guy in the Marvel universe? Who's he going to turn into and all that? They are turning him into a established Marvel character, not by that name, but Deathlock is a character that's been around since the 70s probably. In Marvel feature, maybe Marvel action.
Marvel Premiere. It was one of those Marvel books, and then he showed up in Cap,
right,
and a couple other places.
Basically a cyborg.
Well, if you don't mind.
No, please.
He's RoboCop.
Please. Okay. He's not a cop, but he's an assassin, half human, half 50%, 40, 60.
He's a human that had special skills, got blown up or whatever. Right. They put him back together as a computer. Right. That's RoboCop.
Right.
Except a bad guy.
And he's in one of the
Except
X-books.
he's not even a bad guy.
He's in one of the X-books right now, right?
He joined the school, the Wolverine and the X-Men, their tactical
He's the one constantly giving, there's a 87% chance that Shawn will finish that soda before the end of the show.
Never happens.
I'm just saying. That's what he does.
As an incorrect computation.
Throws out probabilities.
Yes, that's what he's about.
And, because he's got the computer.
And what's cool about him, Deathlock, in the show, because everybody's looking at, it's not him. Again, it's a cyborg. It could be anybody. Anybody can be Deathlock. You don't even have to have had the upgrades that that character had in the initial thing with the centipede. Anybody could be Deathlock. So I think that's kind of neat.
And that's the exact kind of thing I was looking for in this show. You've got tertiary characters that will probably never see the big screen. We have thousands of them. Thousands in the Marvel Universe. Throw them in there, And if worse comes to worse, you can change something if you want to stick it in a movie later on, but man, there's just so much. Use it instead of making up Centipede, instead of making up... You think they had big plans for AIM? That's why they didn't use AIM? Or I just don't get it when they do things like that.
Well, that's been my complaint. And then continuing on, just back, because it's become my new fun thing to do. DC, I bash on them on the comic book side of things because they screw up so much stuff anymore. It's kind of funny. But on the TV and movie side of things, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's become my new thing. We talked about this earlier in the week to preempt it a little bit. Have you ever seen so many excuses ever made for a show that's not canceled?
Right. I feel like they are getting... At least studio heads are listening to fans. I'm sure they're logging on sites and try to take things like whatever their complaints are or praises are into consideration. But I've never seen, like you said, that studio head from Marvel or from ABC come on and say, "Hey, we hear you. We're going to fix it. It's coming on the way." Because that show is not getting horrible ratings. It's tops in its age category, and I think number 3 overall for ABC. So it's going to be back next year. But he comes on in an article or an interview and says, "Oh yeah, these last 9 episodes are going to be great. I understand what people are looking for. It's on its way." And obviously that stuff. They didn't just get a hold of the chick to be Sif, and they didn't just get a hold of J. August Richard and decide to make him Deathlock. That was probably since episode 1, probably in the works.
I think the Deathlock thing was probably in the works from the very beginning. I don't think the Sif thing was.
I don't know.
I think that is probably. I mean, we don't know. We don't have. It's like, hey guys, tell us some info for GeekStorm. That's not it.
I bet it's got to take months to set up a TV episode.
I don't think it does. I really don't, and I think it gets done a lot quicker than You know, I want to say they filmed most of these in less than a week.
Well, I did
So-
see. Did you see the documentary on Netflix about South Park? About them, they put
In a
an episode
day?
together. Yeah, and well, it might have been two or 3 days. But
Okay.
it was from absolutely nothing on the page to done and shipped to the station, like 2 or 3 days.
I did see that's an old documentary too, and it's
That's
funny.
pretty amazing.
And I mean, they show it like it's like 30 minutes till showtime,
Right.
and the guy is delivering whatever it is, the actual material.
I
but
think that, and that's animation, so obviously it's much different. But
I look at it this way: why? And I think I already know the answer, but why did we not have Jamie Alexander as Sif on during the big Thor episode? And I mean, the money went out for that episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was everywhere. You saw tons of stuff on it. It was Thor's day. There was the bottom screeners was all about Thor, Thor, Thor. Hey, we're here. We're excited. The ratings got a boost. You and me probably both watched it. I know I did. And there's no Thor. Not only is there no Thor, there's no Asgardian anything except for one guy played by an actor who's nothing to do with Asgard whatsoever. Doesn't have a physical look, nothing about him. And then no tie-in to the movie whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, there was no Thor in your Thor episode. It was just a joke, and it was badly done. My only thinking of why we didn't have Jamie Alexander or somebody else was because at the time that came out, they were probably all doing the press junkets and the leg of the tour, promoting the film, so they weren't available. So now all of a sudden, now we're going to get it. So it's like you gave us this throwaway crap episode, and that was a bad episode. I don't care what people say; it was really stupid. And now we've got an actual person. It's like, all right, how many times you get to cry wolf before we're not going to tune back in? So
I just think they could have done a lot of this all through the whole series. Interjecting that type of thing in there, like Arrow's done pretty much all season this season anyway.
it's been tight. I
season.
haven't seen last night's episode or Wednesday's episode yet, but I've heard already we're bringing back Bronze Tiger again. I've heard that Deathstroke finally makes an appearance, maybe in actual Starling City or whatever, not in just the island, and some other stuff as well. So they're definitely doing it up. Hey, Guardians of the Galaxy, no Super Bowl ad, is what the creator is now saying. The director is now saying that there's rumors going around because they've had a big Super Bowl ad the last couple of years, and now he's coming out and telling fans, "Hey guys, not going to happen.
Right.
We're not going to have that ad. We're not going to be there. We got something really big coming up."
Right.
But it's not that.
I can tell you what the really big thing isn't. in
What
Guardians of the
what
Galaxy.
won't it be?
There's no Stan Lee cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy. I read an article with him the other day, or saw an interview online with him.
Did he actually come out in that interview and say, "I don't even know who these guys are"?
Yes.
Oh, he did say that.
He said the interviewer asked him, hey, I understand you're not going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. What's that all about? And he said, well, I really didn't have anything. I didn't create Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't have anything to do with it. Jack and I had nothing to do with putting that together. And that was my
Did he
thing.
use the word Jack, or did you just throw that
I
in
just threw
because
that
you're a
in.
fanboy and you love Jack?
I want to give Jack some.
He deserves it.
I want to give him some love there.
I want to see them digitize something and
was
put him
par-
into
I
a
was
movie.
paraphrasing.
Okay.
But,
because I don't believe Stan ever used those words.
Right. But he said, I'm not even sure who these guys are. And then it's almost like he caught himself. I can't wait to see the movie, but I'm not even sure who these guys are. So
That is great.
and then it was just weird because they went through some of the stuff that he's done before in different movies, and he even commented on Daredevil a little bit. It's like, well, Ben Affleck. The guy interview asked him, "What do you think about Ben Affleck as Batman?" He said, "I think Ben Affleck will do a great job." He said, "I think he's a great actor. He's a great writer and producer." He said things didn't go so well with our Daredevil, but I really think that was more the director's fault. That's rare to hear somebody throw anybody under the bus. On an interview. But
And it's also rare to hear somebody tell the truth.
he's Stan Lee, so screw it. I'll say what I want. Plus, he's like 90 years old.
Yeah, I think he just turned 91.
Yeah, so he can say whatever he wants.
He shares the same birthday as my wife.
Does he? You get money for that?
No, but
Same.
same
Stan and Jack and Chris.
It'd be great.
That would be cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny because he does take a lot of grief for that. And the truth is I've watched that movie again recently, and it's not a good film. He's fine as Daredevil. If anything, I think for a sighted person playing that role, I thought he did an excellent job. And there's lots of things about the actual Daredevil character in the movie I like. The whole, sense deprivation chamber makes sense to me. Sure. The look and how they did everything made sense to me. Bullseye sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just...
That's because Colin Farrell is a horrible actor. I've never liked him in anything.
I love an American Outlaws.
You just because you like the movie.
It's a good movie.
Anybody could have done that. It wasn't like, oh, that's a Colin Farrell moment.
Mike Harrison
I could have done that. Look,
that.
watch me, and then that. I can do that. I wouldn't make the noise though.
You wouldn't. Pew pew.
No,
Is there anything else important you want to talk to before we sign off for the day? Because we just did comics for the entire thing, and I feel good about that.
UConn was a good show. It just came out. They a really long, like a 2-hour part one of the origin. It's got last week I said it was the guy who played Jon Snow. It's not. It's the guy who played Robb Stark.
So you're stupid.
I was wrong.
Hey, next week we're going to talk about a lot of television. Mike's going to take over, and no comics next week. Sorry about that. But television, Black Sails, Klondike, and something about a video game. It is going to happen. If I have to have the producers come and we hook up an Atari 2600 and play Pitfall, which isn't a 2-player game, so maybe not that. But Frogger. Frogger was a 2-player game. We'll play that. No, something. No. We could. No.
The probability of that happening is 0.31%.
Thanks for checking out GeekStorm. I am Shawn Hilton. This is Mike Harrison. We are at Pepper Whistle in downtown Kokomo, where they allow us to film. Now I'm going to go get some breakfast. Have a wonderful day.